NBC News has learned exclusively that a new witness will be testifying before a federal grand jury in New York City. Combs is currently sitting in a federal detention facility awaiting trial on racketeering and sex trafficking charges. He's pleaded not guilty. Here's NBC News entertainment correspondent Chloe Malas.
Hey there, that's right. A New York grand jury is going to be hearing evidence this afternoon as part of their ongoing criminal federal investigation into Sean Diddy Combs. We know that it is a man who is going to be testifying before the grand jury. We don't know his name or what he's going to be saying. And this is interesting because earlier this month at a hearing for Combs, I was actually in that courtroom in Manhattan where we heard a U.S. attorney, one of the prosecutors, say that there might be a superseding indictment. So what does that mean? That means that Combs could face more criminal charges. He is set to face his trial on May 5th. This could mean that the trial lasts a little bit longer or perhaps even gets moved back. Currently, he's behind bars awaiting trial at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. But I also want to talk about all of the civil cases against him. So he is facing over a dozen different civil cases. And some of those lawsuits have been filed by an attorney out of Texas by the name of Tony Busby. He just filed 2 more cases on Monday. And all of the accusers in his civil suits are anonymous. And we've seen that with other civil suits that have been filed over the last several months. Now, Combs has denied all of the accusations against him, both criminal and civilly. But what's interesting is that last night, a U.S. District Court judge ruled that one of the accusers in one of Busby's civil suits, who's anonymous, she goes by Jane Doe in the suit, has to reveal her identity, or else the judge is actually going to dismiss that suit. Now, we've reached out to Combs' legal team for comment. We've reached out to Busby, and we haven't heard back. But this is significant because in the judge's ruling and opinion, the judge states that just because this individual might be embarrassed to put their name out there or maybe is concerned that Combs would threaten violence or hurt them in any way, the judge said, I understand that you might be embarrassed, but that's not enough of a reason to be anonymous. And also, Combs is behind bars, so the threat of violence from him seems unlikely. So it'll be interesting to see how that could potentially affect any of these civil cases. And again, Combs is set to face his criminal trial on May 5th. Back to you.
On day 14 of the Diddy sex trafficking trial, prosecutors said that the intense cross-examination of Sean Combs' former assistant, Mia, was embarrassing and humiliating. Mia testified on the stand that Sean Combs sexually assaulted her several times. Here are some highlights.
And can you read to the jury what you wrote to Mr. Combs?
Just thinking of you today and every day. Also, no lie, last night I had a nightmare. I was trapped in an elevator with R. Kelly and I screamed for you and you came to rescue me. So thank you for that too. Sending you love.
Now, at that time in 2019, you wrote that you had a nightmare concerning the person, the artist known as R. Kelly, right?
Yes.
And the person who sexually assaulted you in your dream, or nightmare rather, came to your rescue. That's what you wrote?
Yes.
And you not only had that vision in your mind, but then you express it to Mr. Combs?
Yes.
You had to tell him that in the text message that he's your actual savior, right?
Objection.
It's overruled.
Yes.
So the person who you told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury terrorized you and caused you PTSD, you wrote to that person and explained how that person saved you from the other person named there, right?
Objection.
Sustained. Needs to be rephrased.
Let's go to the next text message that you sent to Mr. Combs. And just to orient, would you agree with me this is March 8th, 2019, so approximately, I know it's not perfect, but approximately just a week short of 2 months after the nightmare R. Kelly text. Is that fair?
Yes.
All right. Can you read this to the jury, what you wrote to Mr. Combs?
Just sending you all of the love in the world.
With a what type of emoji?
Oh, a heart emoji.
And you were not under the grip of Mr. Combs at that time, right?
No, I still was.
Why?
Psychologically, also Puff used to be my protector. Also, these were based around after tragic events that happened in his life. And again, I don't know how to explain the psychology behind it.
Why can't you explain your thoughts? You keep relying, it seems like, on psychology. What about what you would do?
Objection.
Okay. I'll rephrase it right now.
Okay.
Thank you. Explain to the jury, if you can, why are you reaching out to Mr. Combs telling him this?
Because
I'm sorry, with all the love in the world, heart emoji, when you had nothing to do with him.
he had just, there were, because Kim had just passed away, and I felt horrible for him.
Ma'am, that tragedy occurred, that death, that unexpected death, occurred 5 months earlier.
Objection.
That was a statement. So, do you have a question?
Is that true?
Yes, it's true.
So you go to the person who has terrorized you, the funeral of his significant other, mother of his children, in November of 2018, right?
Yes.
But it's 5 months later and you are having thoughts that he's your savior, and you just reached out unilaterally
Objection.
to send you all the love in the world?
We've got to finish the question, and then we'll get an objection. That question does need to be rephrased, Mr. Steele.
Can you explain, besides just saying psychology, why you are reaching out to Mr. Combs when you painted this picture for the jury, how he has ruined your life?
Objection.
That's overruled.
Why was I reaching out? Because I don't believe 5 months is really that long to get over. I feel that's a lifelong tragedy to recover from. And these were specific dates. I don't remember why. That something would have happened for me to reach out. The version of Puff that did treat me like the best friend, I did love that dude. He protected me from the other versions of themselves, and I didn't understand what happened to me until recently, as he was still being praised by everybody in the world. So how would I have known?
When Mr. Combs wrote to you, I only remember the good times. Why didn't you respond, well, I remember the bad times?
Sorry, why didn't I say that? Because I would have never responded that way.
Because it's not true? Is that true, Mia?
Objection.
Overruled.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Your testimony and statements that it was, you were the victim at the hands of Mr. Combs's brutality and sexual assaults is not true, is it?
I have never lied in this courtroom, and I never will lie in this courtroom. Everything I've said is true.
Let's see what you wrote in response to Mr. Combs. This is, again, just to orient the jurors. It's August 29th, 2020, and you're responding at 8:42, but it's -7 UTC time. So, can you read what you wrote to Mr. Combs in response to his writing to you? Send me all the footage. And we're working on our documentary. I only remember the good times. Love you. Want you to know that.
Love you too. And the only things to remember are the good times and...
Can you just go slower?
Oh, sorry. Love you too. And the only things to remember are the good times. And those are the only memories I have. Ha ha ha. Like hysterical ones. I'll send you everything I've got. I remember even before you had videographers with us, I carried around the little iVid thing. I found those too. Completely forgot about them. So many magical, hilarious things, like drinking 1942 on the Parrot Cay beach and champagne under the Eiffel Tower at 4 a.m. in the dark, and singing with Jimmy at Interscope, and Mick Jagger trying to take me home, but I ran away. And Ibiza Caves, where I got a 7-inch scar, and Hawaii 5-0, when you punched that for talking to me, and launching Revolt, and that random underground baccarat game where Chlolo wouldn't pay out and I stayed only, and you won 650 grand. And that little ran away from me, and Leo grabbed my pink bedazzled BlackBerry, and you said the Titanic mother doesn't know. He won 10,000, I won 650,000. Ha ha ha. Gosh, there are trillions of stories that are amazing. Of course, I'll send it to you. And also, what documentary without me? I will say I reflect back, and I know I did real great with Can't Stop, Won't Stop. I was just bamboozled by Heather because I didn't realize how people could be. And I believed everyone was good, but you taught me so much, and I appreciate that. But I have all of your doc stuff. Remember the scrapbook I made you of every time you had ever been mentioned in the press from day one until ultimate fame? Just thought about that. I've got you.
When you said in this message to communication to Mr. Combs, it's in the 5th line up from the bottom, starting in the center. I was bamboozled by Heather because I didn't realize how people could be, and I believed everyone was good. You see that?
Yes,
Why didn't you say, and Mr. Combs, you bamboozled me as well?
because I was still brainwashed.
Who brainwashed you, Mia?
Puff.
How did he brainwash you into thinking that it's okay to be woken up from your slumber with a man's private part being inserted into your person without permission?
Objection.
Sustained.
How did he bamboozle you to believe it was okay when you were orienting different items in a closet?
Objection, Your Honor.
That's sustained.
How did he why didn't you write how he was one of the people that caused you to believe that not everyone was good?
Because I was brainwashed.
That's your answer?
Objection.
That's sustained.
What does brainwashed mean?
Objection.
That's overruled.
Brainwashed meant I was in an environment where the highs were really high and the lows were really low, which created a huge confusion in me trusting my instincts. I was punished whenever Puff would be violent, and I would react, therefore, again, confusing me and making me believe I had done something wrong. And then I would try so hard to get back to that good space. And I'd work harder and be nicer. And nobody around batted an eye. He was still praised by everyone around him and the public. Again, I felt like I had done something horrifically. Like I had betrayed him in some way by going to mediation, and I felt horrible about it. Like again, I had done something wrong, and I was always constantly seeking his approval. He was my authority figure, the only authority figure.
Mr. Steele?
Are you finished?
Sure, yes.
You had not been with Mr. Combs on the date that you wrote this text message for approximately 3 years and 5 months? Do you realize that?
Correct.
And it is also approximately 3 years after you told the jurors that the Me Too movement went viral, right?
I guess.
October 15th, 2017, and this is August 29th, 2020, so just under 2 months shy of the Me Too movement going viral, according to what you said, right?
One that he was...
Objection.
That's overruled. I think you can rephrase that question, Mr. Steele. Sorry, sustained. Rephrase.
You were aware of the Me Too movement for years by August 29th, 2020, right?
One that he was not affected by. Correct.
Well, what does that mean?
He was not affected by it.
And you told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury one of the reasons you did not outcry earlier was because there was no Me Too movement around when you worked for Mr. Combs, right?
Objection.
Overruled.
I was saying back then there was no Me Too movement. There was no social media. There was no mental health awareness. Sorry, social media as though it is today. Every adult that I reached out to within this organization or the people that witnessed what happened to me, nobody acted like what was happening to me was wrong. And his threats about that he was going to tell Cassie what happened made me internalize blame and shame.
All right, let's talk about that for a minute. Who threatened to tell Ms. Ventura about Mr. Combs supposedly sexually assaulting you?
Puff.
So your testimony before this jury is that Mr. Combs told you, threatened you as your word, that, hey, I have a mind to tell Ms. Ventura that I sexually assault you?
Objection.
It's overruled.
That was not his wording. He threatened to tell Cassie everything, quote unquote.
I can't hear you.
The words you used were not the words he used. He threatened. Continue. Sorry.
No.
No, Mia, you finish your answer, and then Mr. Steele will get the next question.
The words that you used were not his words, but he threatened to tell Cassie, quote unquote, everything, which made me feel like I had done something wrong. I don't know how to explain what that does to a person.
Are you finished?
Yes.
Why didn't you respond by saying, great, let's tell everyone what happened when you violated me?
Objection.
Sustained.
Why didn't you respond by saying, absolutely, tell Ms. Ventura and everyone else that would be great?
Objection.
That's sustained, and let's move on.
By 2020, August 29th, you knew, according to you what you said earlier on direct examination, that you have a moral obligation to speak up. Do you remember saying that to the jury?
Objection.
That's overruled.
I now have a moral obligation. Yes.
Why didn't this moral obligation happen in 2017?
You said, why did it?
didn't it?
Why didn't it?
Yes. Why didn't you have the moral obligation to say, this is my experience with Mr. Combs?
Because I was terrified and I was brainwashed.
Why in 2018 didn't you have the moral obligation to come forward and make these allegations against Mr. Combs that he had sexually abused you?
Objection.
It's overruled.
The same reason.
When did the moral obligation come to your mind that you need to say this information that you are putting forth, that Mr. Combs violated you in a sexual manner and other ways?
When I started witnessing him being held accountable for his actions and being told what happened to me was wrong.
After March 2017, you just gave us the dates you worked with Madonna for the 8 months. Fair, is that true?
After my employment with him, yes.
Do you have any evidence to share with this jury that you were somehow blacklisted?
Objection.
Overruled.
Blacklisted? Oh, she didn't care about that. But no, of course not.
No retribution or retaliation by Mr. Combs even after you went to mediation with him, true?
Objection.
To your knowledge?
It's overruled.
Yeah. He took away the TV show that I had created. He took away the credit that I was promised in the documentary and other projects that I was working on.
Ma'am, you told the jury that you were surprised you were let go from your position with Mr. Combs's entities. Do you remember that?
Yes.
You really didn't understand why?
Correct.
Isn't it true that you were let go for failing to arrive on time and for drinking?
Absolutely not.
Objection.
It's overruled.
Absolutely not.
You were never told that.
No.
But my question I would like you to answer, if you don't mind, is how could any high cover up the lows that you talked about by being threatened with your life?
Objection.
That's overruled.
Oh, because I felt safe and I felt like everything was great again.
And being, God forbid, seen actually abused, according to you, same question?
Objection.
That's sustained.
Ma'am, would you agree with me that the reason you wrote that text message exchange on December 6th, 2017, that the jurors had seen saying, I'm going to kill myself, was because you were told that you're no longer working with Mr. Combs in the industry, is because you loved that job?
Objection.
It's overruled.
My entire world was being ripped away from me immediately, and even in hindsight, that world was awful. I didn't know it at the time, so that's why it felt like everything was ending.
You wanted to work and continue to work for Mr. Combs and his industry businesses, right?
I wanted to continue. I wanted to continue following my dreams. I was finally making real stuff, and I had a separation from them.
And that means that you wanted to continue the work at that location with Mr. Combs and his businesses. That's my question. Is that true?
Yes.
And nobody forced you to work at that business at that time that you were working there. Is that true?
Nobody forced. I'm sorry. Could you?
Yes. You were doing this. You wanted, well, it was a voluntary. Your mind was, I want to stay here and work, right?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Could you ask me that question?
Sure. While working with Sean Combs and the related businesses, that was your voluntary decision. You wanted to work for those companies and with Mr. Combs. Is that true?
Objection.
It's overruled.
I wanted to work for those companies.
I couldn't hear you.
I'm just trying to. Did I want to work for those companies? Did I want to work the film production we had created? Is that what you're asking? I'm just a little bit confused by the wording.
Mr. Steele, why don't you try to re-ask the question just a little bit, and maybe you can rephrase it just a little bit to be a little more clear about what you're asking.
You made the decision to continue to work for Sean Combs and his businesses, right, while you were there, right?
Objection.
It's overruled.
Did I make the decision to continue? I didn't think I had a choice. Yeah.
That's why you were devastated, because you liked working there so much when you were let go, right?
Again, I was devastated because it came out of nowhere and it was confusing about the film company being dissolved. And I was told it had nothing to do with me. Then I was called to come back. Again, it was all confusing. And yeah, again, my world that I knew, the only world that I knew was being taken away. And so, yeah, that felt devastating.
And when you were called to come back, you came back, right?
No, not in that capacity. Not in the capacity that I believe you're trying to frame it. I worked from afar.
Have you ever been able to talk about Mr. Combs sexually assaulting you without looking down?
No,
Why is that?
Objection.
That's overruled.
because it's the worst thing I've ever had to talk about in my life.
Are you getting any money for being here today?
No,
Are you getting any fame for being here today?
no,
Do you want to be here talking about this today?
Objection.
Overruled.
absolutely not. This is
Just one final question for you, Mia. Why are you testifying here today?
Objection.
That's overruled.
because I can't look my niece or my
Objection.
Hold on. That's overruled.
I can't look my niece and my goddaughter in the eyes and ever advise them in the future if they happen to be in this situation.
What does this show?
So this is what we call a folio. So it's essentially somebody's bill upon departure. And this particular bill was Mr. Pines's for the June 12th stay, where he stayed for 2 nights, checking out on the 14th in room 259.
At a high level, can you walk through some of the charges on this bill?
Yes. So it obviously has the room charges for the day, and then it has the paid out doorman for 5 candles. So essentially, we were sent to go out and pick up 5 candles. So that's what the first couple of charges are. And then the logo shop is essentially our gift shop, and that's the next charge. And then you have the room charges. There's some internet, some local telephone charges, parking charges, which is described for the car, there. Private bar, then a miscellaneous charge for cleaning drapes, the cleaning of drapes.
And how much was that miscellaneous charge?
$300.
What does deep cleaning mean?
So deep cleaning is essentially when the scope of cleaning is beyond what is normal. So sometimes when something is very dirty or stained or whatnot, we have to send it out. So that's when we would do a deep cleaning.
Turning to page 2 of this document, what is the total bill for this room?
$6,774.80.
What does this show?
This is another bill from his stay where he stayed 1 night on May 30th, 2015 in room 23B.
Is this a stay that we also saw in that prior spreadsheet?
Yes.
At a high level, can you walk through some of the charges on this bill?
Sure. The first line is a pay-per-view movie, and then the guest room charge, parking, standard room service, gift shop, telephone and internet, and then private bar again, and then a miscellaneous charge for $500 for oil damage.
What is a miscellaneous charge for oil damage?
So essentially, it was again beyond the scope of what we would normally clean. So we probably had to either send it out or we had to bring somebody in to deep clean the room.
The name Philip Pines appears on both of these bills.
Yes.
When those reservations were made, do you know if they were made in that name?
Not necessarily. It could have been any of the previous aliases that he used.
Why is it, then, that Philip Pines shows up on both of these bills?
So, it's when you print the bill. So let's say he stayed 5 years ago, and if we had printed out the bill 5 years ago, the name would have been whatever that alias was at that time. But because we printed this after his last stay, in 2021, the name left was Philip Pines. So all folios or all history goes under the Philip Pines.
I just have a few questions for you, and then we can be out of here. You testified you worked at the Beverly Hills Hotel for 17 years, right?
Somewhere around there, yes.
And then I think you said that, particularly with entertainment clients, they book under an alias. Is that right?
Most of them, yes.
So, for you, if you've booked a celebrity or an entertainment client under an alias, that's not uncommon for you, because that happens often in your job, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay, great. Can we just go to line 14? This is a stay where it lists Mr. Phillips Pines again, correct?
Yes.
And in that third column, I think you said, would have been accompanying guests. Is that right?
Yes.
And then the stay for this is what date?
January 22nd, 2012.
And then the checkout date would be January 24th, 2012.
Yes.
And the accompanying guest lists Dominique, Neil, and then Cassie Ventura, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions. Thank you so much.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Jurors are going to have trouble associating sex trafficking with your girlfriend. With your girlfriend is going to be the problem. And both witnesses that are put on the stand to prove up sex trafficking were Diddy's girlfriend. Now, for the other RICO elements, I feel that they're getting there. Now, I think a component of your question, and I'll hand you the mic, was related to Diddy being the only person being charged. Can that be RICO? Was that a portion of your question? Yes. Okay, so yeah. So the answer is, listen, he's not the only one being charged. He's the only one that you know about. I pulled court documents. I'm Attorney Simone, your legal bestie. That's what I do. On the court documents, he is actually listed as sealed defendant 1. You know when they call you defendant 1? When there's more than one. Yeah. Otherwise, you just be defendant or sealed defendant. What it is, he's sealed defendant 1 because there's a bunch of other sealed defendants. They stay sealed until after they testify. That's what you do in a case like this, where tampering with witness is a charge. So I say that to say there are absolute co-conspirators. I would bet money on it. One of them is KK. KK is a sealed co-defendant. She might be defendant 2, she might be defendant 3. I would also venture D-Rock, his former security guard, is another sealed co-defendant. If I'm lying, I'm lying. I'm really good at this. I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. I've been doing this for almost 20 years. And so I think those sealed co-defendants, they're going to take the stand at the very end of the prosecution's testimony, which will be next week. And I think that's when it's going to help come together.
Thank you. Beautiful information.
Thank you, guys.
Do you think with all the stuff that's going on the testimony that Sean Combs have a good chance of being exonerated? And do you think all
he's getting time, he's going to jail for what? I can't be sure of. But I have to say, one of the easiest things to get locked up for is prostitution. Your granddaddy's probably been arrested for it, your daddy, your uncle. I don't see how he could be the prostitution charge here. Prostitution does not require coercion. It just requires a hooker that wants to get paid to do it to somebody. And there were multiple male sex workers that had already taken a stand who have said, I did it to her and I got paid. There's no dispute about that. That is a stand-alone charge. Many people don't realize it. And even if no sex trafficking is proven, if they prove that, he faces up to 10 years. Here's the other thing. In federal court, the judge determines your sentence. And many times what the judge will do is if you get off on other charges. So here, if he's found not guilty of the sex trafficking and not guilty of the RICO, that judge has heard all this stuff. The judge has heard the beatdown and everything. And that judge can choose to give him 10 years for buying some hookers in a case where otherwise, if it was just hooker buying, you might get one. You might get home confinement, or you might even get time served. So I can see here, the judge has heard all this testimony. If he's only convicted on prostitution across state lines, which is transportation for prostitution, that a judge could give him the full time.
How damaging is Eddie Garcia's testimony about Sean Combs paying him $100K for a videotape of allegedly attacking Cassie in the hotel hall?
Yeah, so he just asked, how damaging is Eddie Garcia's testimony that he gave yesterday? He was a hotel worker that got paid $100,000 to make the tape go in. Oh, baby, that concluded the RICO investigation right there as far as the crimes to prove up. Because remember, you only have to prove 2 crimes within 10 years of each other. His testimony proved both bribery and tampering with evidence. Those are 2 of the 8. Boom, shakalaka, you got it. Now, I did hear someone say, oh, it can't be bribery because they Googled bribery, and bribery requires an open investigation. No, the hell it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Investigations don't open until after the bribery is committed. Somebody reveals or it is discovered someone is bribed. Boom. Here, there was a crime committed. So bribery attaches to crime. You can, it's not bribery if it's a video of you seeing me slip and fall and I pay you to make the slip and fall video go away. It is bribery if it was a video of me murdering somebody or unaliving somebody. And I say, wait, don't give it to the cops, give me money. That's tampering with the witness. The witness saw it. So I think that testimony is critical. because I don't see how juries can get away from tampering with witness and bribery from that testimony.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
I know your name and where can they
Yes,
find you at?
I'm attorney Simone Redwine. You can find me on YouTube at Girl, Is That Legal? Thanks, guys. Think jurors are going to have trouble.
Just when you thought day 13 of the Diddy trial couldn't get any more electrifying, the unthinkable happened. The courtroom, thick with tension and whispers, fell into a stunned silence as Kamala Harris, the vice president herself, strode an end, not with the pomp of a political show, but with the quiet intensity of someone carrying the weight of a secret that could shake the nation. There she stood, navy suit sharp enough to cut through the thickest fog of deception, no makeup, no frills, just raw truth. Flanked by U.S. Marshals, Harris wasn't here to play the game. She was here to dismantle it, piece by piece, and the room, from jurors to attorneys, was utterly frozen. "I never thought I'd be here," she began, voice calm yet brittle, but silence is no longer an option. What followed was not testimony. It was a confession, a reckoning. Kamala whisked the court back to 2003, a Napa Valley retreat draped in secrecy and shadows. What seemed like a mere political mixer revealed itself as a sinister initiation. Phones confiscated, black-suited men lurking, and at the heart of it all, Sean Diddy Combs, no longer the celebrity, but the kingpin orchestrating power behind a velvet curtain. But here's the twist that sent shockwaves. Joe Biden was there too, not as the familiar politician, but a silent sentinel in a room of masked figures and long tables littered with dossiers on ambitious careers, Kamala's included. She recounted the moment she was handed a file, a chilling dossier tracking every move of hers, every ambition, every secret. And a contract? No lawyers, no questions, just a signature demanded. "Obedience keeps you fed," Diddy whispered. It wasn't mentorship, it was control, surveillance, and a dark pact forged in silence. As endorsements poured in, doors swung open, and her political star ascended unnaturally fast. Harris revealed the sinister cost: constant watching, anonymous gifts with terrifying messages, and the cold grip of fear disguised as loyalty. A white rose, a photo of her childhood home, silent reminders that freedom was an illusion. Her voice softened as she described the breaking point, the haunting footage found on a mysterious flash drive, revealing not just her but others caught in the web of this hidden empire. And the chilling call from Biden himself: ride the wave, don't crash it. This was not just a trial. This was the unveiling of a system, a ruthless machine designed to build power while crushing souls. Kamala's testimony wasn't about...
No, you goddamn lying. I just know you is goddamn lying. All right, Diddy dated Jane Doe's friend. But after they stopped dating, Jane Doe, messy, nasty ass, started messing with Diddy. And they go on the trips to Turks and Caicos, to the Bahamas and all that stuff. That's a red flag. You are no good. You do not date your man, your friend's ex-man, man. What did y'all get? You don't do that. You are a red flag already. First bullet, red flag. All right. Boom. So Diddy introduced her to freak-offs, allegedly, right? She said, "Okay, I'm trying to freak off, I want a little freak, I think everybody might be down for one freak off." All right? Then she said, they kept doing the freak off. He wanted to freak off all the time, kind of like the Cassie situation. So he offered her, "Look, how much would you need to freak off?" She said, "Give me 15. Give me 15. He said, I'm gonna give you 10. Boom, she took it. Well, everything ain't registered up here. He always said everything wasn't registered up here because your rent was $10,000. So if you just get $10,000 for the freak off, how you gonna pay your other bills?
Right.
You should have said, no, we're doing 15, 18, 25, 32. Stay focused. All right, he introduced you to the free calls, allegedly. Then he introduced you to the drugs, allegedly. He said he forced her to do the drugs, basically create their own little porn, and then do free calls with escorts named Don. He gonna have a field day with you in court. He gonna have a field day with you in court. Because he gonna say, what y'all created was only worth $10K a month. And then you out here selling your stuff, doing porn with escorts named Don. You finna go to jail. Not jail. You are finna go to court. That man's finna get you for pornography. He don't want his kid around that. All right, stay focused. We're getting off the topic. So then she kept telling Diddy after, the first free call, like, yo, I don't really want to do them like that. Like after the first couple, I don't want to do them. I'm feeling a little weird. So she says. He said, okay, cool.
Okay.
Because Diddy don't force nobody to free call. He said, you want free call?
Don't free
No?
call.
Okay, I'll get somebody else. I'll pay somebody else to freak. So he said, if you don't want to freak off no more, I'm going to give you 3 months. I'm going to pay you for 3 more months so you can get yourself together because you probably ain't saved a quarter. And then you ain't going to do free calls no more. Right? So this is what leads up to her getting in front of that court. He cut you off, and now you say the man forced you to do drugs, forced you to have sex, and all this other stuff. No, baby, you signed up for a porn, okay? And this is why that man hates you. This is why he hates you. No excuse. You was a highly paid, I ain't gonna say highly paid, because $10,000, I don't think that's enough for an escort named Don to be copping me and for hours and hours and hours. So you a low-grade prostitute, and you want a little dollar. Not guilty.
She says that Diddy forced her to take drugs and that she would be awake for days, that she was taking ecstasy and Molly. And she said on these trips, she was sometimes so high on drugs that she lost her sense of self. Jane has finally taken the stand. Now, we're not allowed to reveal her identity because she's testifying under a pseudonym. She's talking about how she and Diddy first met, how they met in Miami and how he was so sweet and loving and that he was actually dating a friend of hers at the time, but that the two of them started going on trips to Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas. During her testimony, she's been crying, and it seems like it's been really hard for her to be up there on the stand. She is now talking about how Diddy would make her watch pornography while they were having sex with each other, and that he would talk to her about his fantasies. He would make her wear lingerie and what she calls stripper heels, and that at one point he told her that he wanted to see her have sex with other men. That's when he took her to a hotel room, and she starts describing how his assistants were in there setting things up with baby oil and the lighting and providing drinks. And she said that when she was there, he then hired an escort from a company called Cowboys for Angels. She said that this escort's name was Dawn, and that she had sex with this man in front of Diddy while he masturbated. Jane testified that over the next few years, 90% of her relationship with Diddy centered around these sexual encounters with male escorts. She testified that she told Diddy multiple times, verbally and in writing, that she did not want to participate in these sexual encounters.
Lawyers will continue cross-examining Brianna Bongelin this morning, the former graphic designer and friend of Cassie Ventura. Recall the time that Diddy dangled her over a 17th floor balcony. She said the incident left her so traumatized she still has nightmares about it to this very day. She also admitted on the witness stands that she was not just a friend of Cassie's, but her drug dealer as well. Yesterday, Bongolan told jurors that Diddy lifted her over that railing for 10 to 15 seconds before pulling her back and throwing her onto patio furniture. She said the attack caused a bruise on her leg and pain to her back and neck. The jury saw photos of Bongolan in a neck brace and a bruise described to be the size of a softball. During cross-examination, the defense said Bongolan was a heavy drug user and even suggested she may have been high during the alleged attack, which she denied. She did admit, though, to supplying Cassie with drugs on a regular basis, including pills, ketamine, cocaine, weed, and ecstasy. The graphic designer has a pending lawsuit against Diddy seeking $10 million in damages. Earlier in the day, forensic video expert Frank Piazza testified about security footage of Diddy beating Cassie in a hotel hallway. And that, of course, is one of the biggest pieces of evidence in this trial. Piazza verified that the footage, which the jury has seen more than a dozen times now, has not been altered. He also analyzed 10 sexually explicit videos recovered from a laptop that Cassie turned over to prosecutors. Those videos, recorded between 2012 and 2014, were saved under the username of Frank Black, a pseudonym that Diddy allegedly used when checking into hotels. After Bongolan's testimony ends, prosecutors will call radio personality Enrique Santos to the stand. He was actually supposed to testify a bit earlier on. We were reporting last week that he was going to take the witness stand, but prosecutors changed up the order of things. And after that, an accuser testifying under the pseudonym Jane will tell her story. She will be the third woman testifying as a government witness, saying that Diddy sexually assaulted her behind Cassie and another woman who used the pseudonym Mia.
One thing Dawn said is after she saw Diddy beat Cassie the next day,
he came in the room
and threatened her.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Dawn is testifying that exactly what she talked about in her civil suit, in addition to some other things, that they were in a house in LA in 2009. Diddy beat Cassie because Cassie wasn't finished allegedly making his food on time. And the next day he came in the room to talk to her and her band member, and he basically told them, allegedly that he told them, don't say anything. What y'all saw up there was passion. And when people say stuff about things like this about me, they end up missing.
That's not speculation. That's reportedly in the court transcripts. Then there's Diddy's daughter. If you needed a stark visual of how serious things have become, it was her walking out of that courtroom. No arrogance, no attitude, just a blank, pale, and utterly silent expression. Even the relentless paparazzi didn't try to shout questions. She didn't even look up. Sources claim her reaction came immediately after the audio was played, which only amplifies the disturbing nature of what might have been heard inside. The implications here stretch way beyond just legal trouble for Diddy. This is now about shattered reputations, a family legacy hanging by a thread, and a tangled web of secrets involving some of the biggest names in entertainment. Will Smith's name being dropped wasn't just a casual mention. It's reportedly directly linked to that audio. And the internet went into overdrive the second that happened. The second Will Smith's name hit the headlines in connection with the Diddy case, the internet went into a frenzy. Old clips, awkward side-eye interviews, podcast snippets. Suddenly, every past interaction between Will and Diddy was being dissected under a harsh, new light. One interview that went viral again was comedian Luanell casually mentioning that Diddy and Will were clapping each other's cheeks. She said it so offhandedly that most people missed it the first time around. This time, it exploded. The internet ran wild with it. Memes were born, and the speculation began to snowball. But then the rabbit hole got deeper, darker. Fans started revisiting old footage of Will with his son, Jaden Smith. Those affectionate kisses, the overly playful energy that once seemed like quirky father-son moments, were now being rewatched through a completely different, unsettling lens. People started voicing their discomfort, saying something felt off. The tone of the commentary shifted from amusement to genuine unease. Then came the nuclear moment. Brother Bilal, Will Smith's former assistant, dropped his own set of...
After being sexually assaulted has been incredibly deep and hard to put into words. It goes beyond just physical harm caused by and during the assault.
Barely able to speak through tears, Talia Graves detailed her allegations against Diddy and his bodyguard, identified as Joseph Sherman. In the lawsuit filed today, Graves alleges the two men viciously raped her at Diddy's Bad Boy Records studio in New York, then allegedly recorded the assault for distribution.
Defendants caused plaintiff to be depicted in a video image, unclothed and with intimate body parts exposed.
It's a pain that reaches into your very core of who you are.
According to the suit, Graves, who was 25 at the time, had been dating one of Diddy's employees. In the document, she claims Diddy lured her into a meeting with him and Sherman alone, where she alleges she was drugged and sexually assaulted.
The violation I have experienced during the assault has had lasting effects on my body.
Graves told reporters that she never reported the incident out of fear that Diddy and Sherman would use their power to ruin her life, just as she claims they threatened to do.
Being blamed, questioned, and threatened has often made me feel worthless.
As she still attempts to heal and move on, Graves did also share strong words for Diddy.
I'm glad that he is locked up, but that's a temporary feeling of relief.
We now have another victim on the stand. She's going to be testifying under the pseudonym Jane. She is an ex-girlfriend of Combs who was with him from 2021 to 2024. She says they met in Miami. She says from day one, she was completely smitten with him. He whisked her away on trips, you name it. Now, before we could even get into Jane's testimony, Combs was almost kicked out of court. The judge seemed completely through with him and says that he has been vigorously nodding at jurors and just trying to find ways to make eye contact with them and just to connect with them. The court artist corroborated the judge's allegations, and she said, look, from day one, this has been a problem. So the judge made it very clear that not only can this not continue, it will not continue, or Combs will be escorted out of the court, and the defense attorneys agreed. Now we'll move into Jane's testimony.
But the judge did do something that I always think is interesting in a trial. The judge said that the jury gave them instructions they cannot consider any of the testimony about the fingerprints, either at the burglary or at the fire.
That's the biggest crock of all.
So, so the jury is going to act like they...
The biggest crock of all trials is telling the jury, don't listen to something you just heard, but just remember it, expunge it from your brain. It's not practical, but it's something the judge has to do.
Plus, the defense made such a big stink about it that you got to think, oh, why are they raising this?
Exactly, it makes it even worse.
Something must have happened, they got rattled.
People's brains are not like an Etch-a-Sketch. And the reality here is that on appeal, this could come up because, look, look, I think it is interesting. Why was it destroyed? Because, look, a lot of people are going to say that Diddy also destroyed the original video at the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016. So if he's capable of doing that, did he destroy the fingerprint, or did he pay somebody off, to destroy the fingerprint in 2011 or 12? And, look, there's no proof that happened, but how does the jury not? That's right. That is
up on appeal if you don't know what the answer is.
No, you bring up the prejudice to their client.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
You preserved it for appeal, and you say the judge overruled me, didn't declare a mistrial. That was an error, and now they have a grounds for appeal. I'd be interested to see if he loses and gets convicted, what they do with this.
I'm Brooke. I'm from the UK. I think the defense team is just scrambling. I think it's clearly obvious. Diddy is a powerful man. It's within his power to get these things done behind the scenes. People have known about him for years. There's been rumors for years. I'm not even in the country, and I've known there's rumors about this man for years. I think he's clearly guilty. We've seen it. The public knows it. Let's just get justice done and get justice for these women, please.
Well, there's something called a trial, right? And you kind of want to go through the trial, or you're guilty. Yeah, you don't want to skip over the trial part.
That's not how it works in this country, or even in yours.
We have sort of trial-related news.
Yes. Good news for Cassie. We broke the story yesterday that she was in a hospital in the labor unit, and what's supposed to happen in a labor unit happened. She had the baby, her third child, with Alex Fine, and the baby was born sometime Tuesday afternoon, late Tuesday afternoon, and we're told that although the baby arrived slightly early, maybe like within days, mom and child are doing just fine. We do not know the gender yet.
Do not know the gender.
She was the star witness in this Diddy case just a couple weeks ago, and even a judge had noticed that she was ready to pop, and he noted that they were going to limit her testimony because they were concerned she was going to be giving birth any day. So at least baby is here, baby is healthy, and all is well.
Okay, we are going to move on.
But the judge did...
All right. What y'all think about P. Diddy, his case, Cassie, in the trial? Seems like Cassie is really a part of listen to the testimony. Sound kind of strange. Keep it real. It is not a law. You gotta lie. Call him partner, Charles Palmer Diddy. He'll probably be in the court pretty soon. If you like these videos, please like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be seeing you on the next. That's love.